Okay, so we are on the back side of this page, okay? And this will sit on the left, All right, so this was actually not my idea. I found it on YouTube, and there's a link below in the description of this video if you want to see how she does it, but she uses a giant piece of cardstock, and it's in centimeters. So I just kind of looked at the images in her video, or I should say I just looked at still images in her video and just taught myself how to do it. So what you need, I'll also link below, is the the Silhouette Studio file, which will allow you to cut all of this. Okay, if you want to follow along with me, I'll show you how to do it if you're going to cut by hand, but there is one of this and two of these, and then there's one of this and two of these. If there's not two of these, just duplicate it. But this is all in that Silhouette Studio file, so you can cut these yourself. Okay, so go ahead and cut them. Obviously the larger ones, so this one and these, the larger ones, you're gonna cut those out of your base cardstock, and the smaller ones you're gonna cut out of your decorative paper. All right, so I will show you how to make these if you don't have that, if you're just making by hand. Let me find my ruler. Okay, so as you saw in the clip just a moment ago what this is gonna look like. So for the large double frame that sits on the front before you open it like that, you need 8 3/4 by 6, okay? 8 3/4 by 6. So cut out a rectangle that is exactly 8 3/4 by 6, and then just like in a previous page, I think it was the last page we did, you're gonna take your ruler, and on the two shorter sides, you're gonna measure in exactly 1 inch. I thought I messed up somehow. You're gonna measure in exactly 1 inch, draw a line, and you're gonna measure in 1 inch and draw a line. And then on only one of the long sides, you're gonna measure in 1 inch, draw a line. And on the remaining longer side, you're gonna measure in 1/2 inch and draw a line, okay? So you will have a line here, you'll have a line here, here, and of course right here. And then, again, my ruler is not wide enough, so from the very outer edge and kind of near the bottom, I'm just gonna measure in 4 1/8 and a little dot mark, and then same from that same edge but near the top, 4 1/8 and a little pencil mark. Same thing from this edge. 4 1/8, make a pencil mark, 4 1/8, make a pencil mark, and then you're just going to connect those two pencil marks, which will result in a line drawn here and a line drawn here, and then you'll just cut out the two frames that are created by those pencil lines. And then you need two of these, and these each measure 4 7/8 by 6. Right? Yep, so 4 7/8 by 6, and you're gonna do the same thing on the, well, except this time you're gonna do, on the two longer sides, you're gonna measure in 1 inch and draw a pencil mark. And on one of the shorter sides, measure in 1 inch and draw a pencil line. And on the remaining shorter side, you're just gonna go in 1/2 inch and draw a pencil line. And then when you cut out the frame, then you will cut out the frame. created by those 4 straight pencil lines. Okay, so whether you cut with the Silhouette Studio file or whether you cut by hand, you'll end up with these 3. And anywhere where you've got the wider 1 inch, you'll score by 1/2 inch. Okay, so anywhere where you've got, I gotta make sure I stay in frame here. Anywhere where you have the wider 1 inch, you'll score at 1/2 inch. Okay, and you're gonna cut off those little squares that were created when our score lines intersected at an angle. And then you can fold and score on the 3 score lines of each of those pieces. All right, and then you also need two more pieces of cardstock. Okay, so this smaller one here, it is 1/2 inch smaller. This one measures 7 3/4 by, I believe, 6. No, 5.5. 7 3/4 by 5.5, and this one is 8 1/4 by 5.5. So 7 3/4, 5.5, 8 1/4 by 5.5. So that one that's got the extra 1/2 inch, you're gonna score that one at 1/2 inch. Oh my goodness, can't keep anything. Okay. And you can fold and burnish on that 1 score line. And you can miter the ends of that 1/2 inch flap. Okay, and then what we will do is we will go ahead and put these 2 together like it's a booklet. So you'll fold this under and line it up perfectly on top of the other one. Of course, put glue down first. I actually think I will just do it like this. Perfect. Okay. So now we have the base of that entire pop-out piece. All right, so we will go ahead and work on getting our frames in there. Actually, first we can, actually no, yeah, okay. Let's get our frames ready. Okay, so for our frames, So let's go ahead and start with this one. So you will need a piece of crafter's plastic that is just a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the length and width of your frame, okay? So just a 1/16 of an inch so that it can fit in there nice and snug, but our flaps can still fold. All right, and then you'll need the same size piece of decorative paper that will fit in there snug, but our flaps can still fold down. So 1/16 of an inch shorter than the frame itself, okay? So first, we want to go ahead and get the crafter's plastic adhered inside. So go ahead and put score tape along all edges, including down the center. Same for these two. You need crafter's plastic, just 1/16 of an inch smaller than these two pieces. Okay. Okay, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna get this in to where it is perfectly lined up. We don't want it extending past this edge. Making sure all of our flaps can fold down. I'm gonna hold it in place and just get it secured on one side. And then, now I know that it's lined up. Okay, sorry. I keep having my camera next to my wobbly table. There, now it shouldn't do that anymore. All right, and now I can remove all the other pieces and stick the rest of it down, and then we'll do the same thing to the smaller frames. Just make sure that when you are burnishing your plastic, make sure it is in place first. If I go to burnish it right now, I mean, it just makes me nervous. I feel like I could shove it. I could slide it in the wrong place. So just make sure it's down first and then burnish. Okay, so now we can take the decorative paper that we're going to put inside each of these frames. Okay, make sure, again, they are lined up perfectly. We don't want them to extend past that edge. And then we can go ahead and glue the flaps down. I'm staying away from the inside edge right here. I'm not gonna get too close to that inside edge. And then when I burnish, I'm burnishing that way. And then we can go ahead and adhere our decorative border on. and then we can go ahead and adhere the decorative paper that we are placing into these two, okay? All right, so we have our 3 frames. So those are completely prepared and ready to be put onto our, or onto our little booklet here. Doesn't matter which way our booklet sits. Okay, so I think I will mat the inside first. So what you need for the inside is you need 1 piece of cardstock that I cut in half, but it needs, I account for a border, of course. I think most of us do. So this is 5.5 inches tall, my booklet, and I like 1/8 inch borders. So I made this just 4 7/8, no, 5 3/8 tall. So that if, as you can see, I have a little border at the bottom and at the top, okay? And they are going to get adhered, and I'm also leaving a little border down the center. So they are gonna get adhered to the left and the right of that fold, that center fold, okay? And they are, I believe, yes, exactly 4 inches wide, which is the perfect width because you don't want them, well, actually it doesn't really matter. They could go all the way to the end if you really wanted to. I just made them 4 inches, no shorter, because once they are lined up like that, 1/8 of an inch top bottom, about 1/8 of an inch away from the center fold, and then once these frames go in here, that 4 inches was perfect. It just covers, the frame just covers up that edge, but you don't waste paper by going all the way across, okay? So we can go ahead and glue those in. I'm just making sure that I'm making sure that I'm good to glue. Yes, we are. Okay, so also in that file linked below is the last piece that you will need. You can tell it's different from the others because it has only 2 sides have the 1 inch. The other 2 sides just have a half. And the frame, or I should say the center, is also 1 inch. So that's how you can tell it's different from the other big one. So what you want to do with the, oh, and if you're cutting by hand, it measures 8 3/4 by 5.5. Okay, 8 3/4, 5.5. You will take your ruler like we did before, and you will measure in 1 inch from the 2 shorter ends, the 2 short sides. You'll measure in 1 inch, draw a pencil line, 1 inch, draw a pencil line, and then from the 2 longer edges, you'll just go in 1/2 inch, okay? Oops. 1/2 inch, draw a pencil line, 1/2 inch, draw a pencil line, and then from the very edge of one of the shorter ends, kind of near the top, 3 7/8, make a dot, and then kind of near the bottom, go in 3 7/8, make a dot. Same thing from this other short end. Go in 3 7/8", make a dot, go in 3 7/8", make a dot, and then you'll just connect these two, draw a pencil line, connect these two, draw a pencil line. And then you've got 2 square frames perfectly centered, and just cut those out with a straight edge and your craft knife, okay? All right, and then we're going to score that piece. And I need to take a minute and clean my area because I do not have the ability to scrapbook without making a mess, and I can't find anything. So on those 2 sides that are 1 inch thick, you will score it 1/2 inch. And that's it, okay? There's no, actually we might miter. I have to think about that. Yes, we will miter. Okay, so fold and burnish on those 2 score lines. Then miter the ends of both of those. Okay, and then what we want to do, oh, sorry. We also have to score down the very, very center. Which should be 4 3/8. Okay, so make sure that's perfectly lined up in your scoreboard. And you want to score down this center at 4 3/8. And that one you want to fold in the same direction, okay. Yeah. No, actually you did not want to fold in the same direction, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So we can take these flaps and fold them the other way. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay. All right, so if my flowers look a little different than they did a split second ago, it's because I messed up on some future steps, so I redid this piece. All right, so this looks like this. And now what you want to do is you need 2 more pieces of crafter's plastic, and they need to be just a tiny bit smaller than the width and the length of this, like a 1/16 of an inch smaller. So you need 2, 1 for each window. So just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit smaller than this size. And then in the Silhouette Studio file, you cut 2 of these decorative frames. You need to, that exact same size, you need to cut 2 more, which I have here. okay? So we are going to take this one and we are going to apply our score tape on the 4 edges. And I'm doing it on the underside, so if this is the outside, I'm doing it on the underside. Okay, and then we can go ahead and adhere these to the other side. Okay, so this side. So these 2 sides here, okay? Okay. All right, so now what we want to do to get this attached, it's pretty simple. You're going to flatten it like so. Okay, you're going to flatten it, and your flaps are also going to be completely flattened. And you're going to lay it so your flaps are on the left, and the folded edge here is on the right. Make sure those flaps are folded back. And you are going to line this piece up with the right side of your booklet. You're going to line up this edge, the bottom edge, and the top edge. Okay. Once you have that lined up, go ahead and put glue on the outside of this flap. Okay, so it's on the outside of that flap. And bring this side down and fold it flat. And then you can open it. Oh, I forgot to miter. Okay, well, if it's not too late. Well, you already mitered yours. Yeah, sorry. I had to redo these pieces because I messed up in a future step, as I said. And then I forgot to miter. So this one, it's too late, but I'll miter the other side. Or I'll just keep it the same so it's consistent. Okay, so then you're gonna take this piece and you want it to go back like this. Again, you want that flap to be folded down, and then you can go ahead and put glue here. And bring this side over. Just like that, okay? So there is our booklet so far, okay? Now what we can do is go ahead and put the other frames inside, and we are set with all the main, you know, with the bulk of this piece. We're still gonna decorate. So this one, you can go ahead and apply glue everywhere. It won't affect the workings of this piece, okay? So just apply glue all over. Make sure that the opening is at the top. And go ahead and glue that to the very front of our booklet. I guess you could call it a booklet. That's kind of what I call it. Okay, and then we can take these two, again, make sure those openings are at the top, glue one here, and glue one here. So you are gonna cover up those little 1/2-inch flaps. You're gonna go right up against the border of that frame, okay? And same thing over here. And you just wanna make sure that it does fold. So mine's actually gonna stick out. You see that? It's gonna stick out just a little bit so that it can fold flat. All right. Okay, opening is at the top. I'm going to adhere it. I'm going to fold it. And once it's folded, I'll push it in as far as it'll go. Make sure everything looks straight. Beautiful. And then for this one, same thing. Okay, so let's bring our main page out. And just again, this was the last spread that we did, so we're just taking this one here and turning it over to the left. So this is going to be this piece, and then we're gonna have another page over here eventually. Okay. So I have chosen this black and white piece. It's got pink throughout it. And then this is going to go somewhere. It's going to open to the left. And I was going to do a ribbon closure, but of course I got ahead of myself and I didn't put the ribbon underneath of this frame. So, I gotta think what I want to do here. Okay, I'm actually pretty annoyed with myself because I really did want to put a piece of ribbon underneath of this frame right here. So I'm thinking that I will have to just run ribbon here, and then it will come up from the bottom and down from the top, and it will just tie right here. Okay, so I need to figure out where I want, excuse me, where I would like to place this little booklet, because I know I want some more design elements on the paper, so I'll probably place it about here, and then I can put some more things up there. But for now, we can go ahead and make sure the opening is to the right, keep the opening to the right, and then we can take our length of ribbon, center it. There's the center. Okay, perfect. All right, so I think I will probably place this here. Okay, so, oops, let's go ahead and adhere this down. Okay, so at this point, you just need to determine what kind of decorative pieces that you want. So I have created some things in Silhouette Studio. I belong to Creative Fabrica, like I think Thanksgiving Day, or maybe I think it was Black Friday. I joined, I think for like 40 bucks. I get all the assets I could possibly download for commercial use. So I find a lot of my stuff from them, Creative Fabrica. And then sometimes I buy things from Etsy. But just, you know, figure out what you want. Of course, the pandas that I had been using earlier, of course, I think I mentioned that, like this is a Knitwit Collections digital kit that I purchased. So just determine what kind of decorative pieces you want. You may have, you know, physical embellishments. You might not be printing digitally, but figure out what you want. And then from this point, it's just putting things where you think they look good. So that's gonna, I think that's good. Let me go ahead and get this down. Oh, glue might be helpful.